All right, next is Anthony Adil. He's from Ghana, West Africa. He's going to blow you away. Great guy. Listen to him.
The speech and debate national qualifying tournament of my freshman year was one of the most sought after competitions. See, if anyone was to make it to the biggest stage ever, which is the national stage, I was going to be the one. See, I constantly thought these words in my mind. And your national qualifier in original oratory, which was my event, is Anthony Du. However, on that Friday night, my fiery passion was extinguished. See, one of my judges came up to me and told me certain words that will forever remain ingrained in my mind. She said, "I wanted to give you the highest score of the round. However, hearing your accent limited your chances of doing better than your American competitors." I thought, well, that sucks. I always thought that American girls found my African accent charming and cute. Watch this. Hello. Yet, at this very moment, I thought these words. And the biggest loser is Anthony Du. I was shouting. See, 4 years later, I stand here evaluating the situation, and I realize this. I have always solely survived on constant validation. See, throughout my life, I felt that if my ideas and actions were approved by everybody else around me, that's when I actually mattered. And so when I lost my keen urge to impress even this one judge, I lost control. Essentially, this problem extends beyond my freshman year of high school. See, the increasing need for validation as a sole survival method is a growing phenomenon in society. We often feel that in order to be considered worthwhile, we have to be approved by everybody else. Now, I'm not saying that it's not good to be told that you are worth it. Indeed, all of us require this to keep on doing our very best. But the problem arises when we believe it is the only thing we need, and we will do anything for approval. But in order to rid ourselves of this approval-seeking mindset, let us first evaluate this problem on a much larger scale, the roles that validation plays in society. Secondly, view the effects that our constant verification can have on relationships in our lives. And finally, we will figure out some solutions to dissolve our search for perpetual approval. See, validation now plays one of the most pivotal roles in the functioning of society. We have made affirmation as the key goal in our everyday accomplishments. Now, even from childhood, we are taught to act in a way that helps us receive compliments. And although this might be necessary for a developing mind, it has gotten out of control. People have lost the ability to create or achieve without receiving constant approval. This is shown through the idea labeled the rule of social validation. Toastmasters International, a non-profit organization developing leadership skills, defines this rule as the more people find an idea, a trend, or position appealing or correct, the more correct the idea becomes in our own minds. Simply put, we have grown into a society where people cannot even make their own decisions. See, often people are inclined towards societal thinking as long as their ideas can be approved by everybody else. This leads to what psychoanalyst Karen Harney, in her theory called approval neurosis, explains. The people become sensitive to criticism and rejection by society. Indeed, validation in life can be hurtful. Yet in finding a common balance between success and the use of appropriate affirmation to fuel that, we seem to have crossed the line. Richard Smith, associate psychology professor at the University of Kentucky, goes on to explain that everyone wants success simply for societal approval. He states that people are rarely satisfied with knowing their own performance, and so they want to know how they stack up against others. Consider Nelson Mandela, one of the greatest leaders to have ever lived, who even believed that our constant need for verification can have an effect on our lives. In reflecting on his political life in his book, Conversations with Myself, he states, "When I look back at my early writings and speeches, I am appalled by my artificiality. The urge to impress is clearly noticeable. many people seem to search for validation instead of allowing approval to be received naturally. Now, obviously, even until he sadly passed away, Nelson Mandela ended up receiving his own validation, even to the point that I have dedicated my drama piece to his memory. Piece in which my African accent is used, of course. However, more often than not, we seem to be stuck in this need. And if we do not realize what he realized, we are steering ourselves in the wrong direction, even when it comes to our own relationships. Need for verification is ever so present in our daily friendships and relationships. Friendship has lost its most pivotal role because of meaningless approval from as many people as possible. This has manifested itself in the process called the Tiger Woods syndrome. No need to insert a joke in here, it's Tiger Woods. In J.R. Burns' series on repairing relationships, he states that this is a syndrome of our relationships based on approval seeking, which have evolved over time. Our constant need for verification stems from our ways to display our lives externally. And I want to tweet out these wittiest lines or post the best updates on Facebook, simply to get as many likes and favorites that we can. And in our fast-paced growing society, we have lost touch, giving up time and efforts into developing real friends. Thus, we end up being all alone. In a 2011 Psychology Today article, Dr. Steven Stoss evaluates our need for verification without our search for approval. He states that in its most tragic form, the increasing need for validation from those with decreasing capacity to actually give it places people in bad and even abusive relationships. Indeed, lacking validation in life can be hurtful. Yet when we constantly search for it, we can lose confidence within ourselves. See, this became a reality to me last year as I entered my junior year of high school. When I decided not to follow my father's dreams of becoming an engineer, I felt he lost all faith in me. See, I even allowed this to affect school, even to the way that I almost failed calculus. But honestly, it was the devil that said, "Book the alphabet in math." Yet this summer, I concluded this. I gave up on myself simply because I wasn't receiving approval from one of the most important people in my life. And just like my freshman year, I lost approval of myself. However, now I realized that there was no point in giving up. I needed to embrace this challenge and to show my father that I wanted to do something bigger and even better with my life. And that's what society needs to realize. However, more often than not, we seem to be stuck in this need. We can change our mode of thinking just like I did this summer. In order to rid ourselves of this validation-seeking mindset, first, follow us my rule goes. You do you, and I'll do me. In this step, one has to come to the conclusion that your best in every situation is all that matters. Just like I learned that telling stories and sharing ideas in original oratory matters as long as I am concise and persistent. Allow yourselves to find your own personal epiphanies, and do not search for validation from everyone. Secondly, if you receive validation from the work that you do, go ahead and take it gratefully and seize the opportunity to keep on keeping on. In a 2011 commencement speech, Overland High School English teacher David McCullough explains our need for success without our search for constant verification. He states, climb the mountain of achievement so that you can see the world, not so that the world can see you. Do not seek validation, but instead embrace it. And finally, if you do not receive validation from the work that you do, go ahead and put your trust into others to guide you. This can help our own relationships. And I learned the value of not searching for validation for my junior year. I vowed to use this in my everyday life. And this year, I dared every judge to go ahead and give me the lowest rank in the round, knowing that I genuinely understood their comments instead of worrying about how I was ranked or placed. But secretly, I would have won. In order to rid ourselves of this approval-seeking mindset, let's go ahead to follow my steps. Go ahead to do, and I have gone ahead to do original oratory this year and not to validation. And so, as they say in my language, and I wonder what that judge will think about this, thank you for giving me the opportunity to do what I want.